Well, hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Super glad that you tuned into Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. We are delighted that you are here today. Thanks so much for tuning in every Monday at 1 o'clock for the program. Today, I have a reoccurring guest in the Zoom booth. Kix Chiton is our longtime jumper for the Toss the Boss. And so we're going to talk all things about Nanaimo Brain Injury Society and the upcoming fundraiser. Hey, Kix, good to see you
Hi.
again. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing well, Kathy. Thanks so much for having me on your show again.
I
You're like
love
an
having you on
episode
the
of
program.
Cheers. Like, here I am, still a
Well,
permanent fixture.
yeah, and I love that you're a permanent fixture, especially because of the things that are going on in our community, right? You are just such a gift to all of us. And so for me, it's always a pleasure to talk with you just because I know what a great influencer you are and
Oh,
how much you do when it comes to understanding brain injury. So before we get started on the Toss the Bus conversation, which we have plenty of time to do, talk
great.
to me about what you do at Nanaimo Brain Injury and why it's so important that people understand.
Yeah, so we know that brain injury can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. And when I give presentations out in public and I ask folks to raise their hands if either they themselves have experienced a brain injury or they know somebody who has experienced a brain injury, and that it can include concussion, stroke, an injury or illness that has affected the brain. It could be a workplace accident, a motor vehicle accident. I ask people to raise their hands, and honestly, it's like 99% of the hands go up. We all know somebody who has experienced a stroke or a concussion or a brain injury of some sort. So that's why it's called the silent epidemic, because there's so many people who have experienced it, and yet there isn't a lot of services and supports for brain injury survivors and families, unfortunately. Um, and that's why the Brain Injury Society exists. It was started here in Nanaimo by families 35 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's one of the long-standing community organizations and supported by the community, for the community, with the community, a local grassroots organization. And the services that are provided include one-to-one supports, help with navigating the healthcare system, navigating the legal system, accessing different resources and information. We support people with applications to housing or application to different health services. Um, they can come in and be part of any of our social programs. So we have workshops and education that are both for the brain injury survivor and their family. So tonight we have our Understanding Brain Injury workshop. That's just an incredible resource for friends, family. We have service providers who come to that workshop so that they can better understand brain injury and the experience of brain injury survivors. So we provide the non-medical supports in community, and these are at no charge because we're funded through donations, grants, different ways that we find funding to support our programs so that brain injury survivors and families are not burdened with that cost.
Well, and I think that when someone has a brain injury, so many of us don't realize that they have it, right? They may have taken a fall. I'll just, my sister, for example, she was a very young girl. She used to be a high jumper. And my sister, she took the jump and then rolled off the mat and had a very severe concussion. And
Mhm.
when that things like that happen, and it happens in families every single day, parents and siblings don't necessarily know how to support because we don't necessarily know what that injury entails. And so how do for people that are really unaware of what a brain injury might look like, can you give us some feedback on things to look out for if we suspect a brain injury is in place?
Yeah, so always important to seek medical attention.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
because especially with something like concussion, it may not show the symptoms or the impacts may not show up right away. But what we can look for, depending on where the injury is, what happened to
Yeah,
the brain,
sure.
um, it can affect someone's vision. It
Mm,
can affect their ability to remember, or it's a bit of a brain fog. And again, we're talking, from the acute stages to the long-term effects of brain injury. Brain injury can be a chronic condition,
yes,
but
absolutely.
it's not just about hitting your head either.
Yes.
You want to be very um, cognizant that when someone takes a fall, even if they didn't hit their head, the impact to the body, and the way that the brain moves inside the scalp, that can still result in a concussion or a brain injury. Because if you can imagine, your brain is like the texture of unset jello. It's quite like a blob in there, right?
Bit
All
malleable.
the, all the neuroscientists and neurologists out there, like, this is the
I
non-technical
love
term.
that. It makes the conversation so much easier. Imagine the blob.
The
If you
blob
let
in your head that that governs your life
It's true. Yeah.
amazingly, right?
Yeah.
It is inside a bony bowl. So if you can imagine, when you like, if you've got jello or some or that kind of consistency inside a bowl and you move the bowl, that jello is slapping on the inside of that bowl. So when we have an experience where we fall or something and our body stops suddenly, your brain is still moving inside your head. And so that's when we can have those injuries, even if we're not hit directly in the head. So these are things to look out for, especially with seniors.
I was just going to say, seniors quite
Yeah.
often, you never know how that impact of a fall will affect seniors. Are we seeing a larger number of people that are older adults affected by falls? Is it the same as it's always been, or or not just by falls, but by Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that, which are also injuries to the brain, correct?
Yeah, it's a bit. So yeah, when we do see neurological conditions on the uptick,
Yeah,
right? For so many reasons. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but
understood.
from the reports that come out, we see the uptick of those neurological conditions, which present very similarly. So when someone is presenting with memory loss or fatigue or different cognitive changes, sometimes it's hard to untangle. We really rely on our medical professionals for that diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Um, when it comes to brain injury or acquired brain injury, which is what the Brain Injury Society focuses on, we support folks who have a brain injury that is not a disease process, similar to Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or
Mhm. Yeah,
something like that. That's kind of a different definition of what has happened to the brain. So we use the World Health Organization's
mhm.
definition of acquired brain injury, which means something has happened to the brain, an illness or injury, after the person was born. So we don't work with folks with FASD or
Mhm.
cerebral palsy. So it's after they were born, and it's not a progressive disease process. Um,
You
However, they
know,
present very similarly.
Yeah, many times you have said, on the show, you've been on the program several times, but you have a wonderful way of reminding our community about brain injury and what brain injury actually can look up. And you say that, the stuff that you do in community, you do because a person who has brain injury each and every day, it's a difficult day. They have challenges, and that so what might that be? Right. Like what kind of challenges
Mhm.
can someone expect?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges that folks um, talk about, within the brain injury community
Mhm.
is fatigue.
Yes.
So we take for granted sometimes how many things the brain is doing at the same time. It's an incredible organ that is filtering out, busy filtering out, and focusing. So when there's an injury to the brain and the brain has to work harder to get the messages, to get the signals to
Yeah.
where they need to get to, it is very, very tiring. The brain is
Mm,
a glucose suck. It takes a lot of energy. And many of us have experienced that even without a brain injury. If you've been, a day that's mentally taxing, how
mm,
exhausting that is. Your brain has worked very, very hard. So, um, when, living with a brain injury, folks talk about, going to the grocery store and having to remember what they have to buy and filtering out the noise and the lights and the people and the stimulation, and the brain is doing all that work, um, all while being injured. And I kind of liken it to, um, it's if someone broke their leg, you could see visibly that their functioning is affected. So you wouldn't necessarily expect that person with a broken leg to,
mhm.
walk 3 blocks down to the store. You're like, okay, so you have an injury. We need to take care of that. The function of this injured part is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
With a brain injury, often the effects are invisible, or the injury is invisible, but sometimes the experience or the expression of that can become visible. But it's harder for sometimes the person to communicate what's going on, and for friends and family to understand
Mm,
what's going on, and what may be affected for
yeah.
that person. Because again, the thing that is injured is responsible for explaining the injury.
Exactly.
So it's like
Exactly. It's a double-edged sword almost.
it's
Yeah.
so challenging, and yet
Yeah.
the brain is an amazing organ. Um,
Mhm.
we talk about neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change itself, to rewire. So there is more and more hope for regaining function, for leveraging that incredible ability of the brain to
Absolutely.
to change and to recover function, and to prove that there is life after brain injury. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. And that's what the
Exactly.
Brain Injury Society is here to support people with.
And how can community or an individual help in the best way possible when we recognize that, we know someone who has a brain injury, whether, an acquired brain injury, depending, severity aside, because that's individual, of course. But how can we be allies and better support for a person who may be experiencing some more than just a brain injury, but they're in the symptom. They're in that moment when they're really, really feeling overwhelmed or things are challenging. How can we best support that person?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think anytime we see someone struggling, no matter what, we
Yeah,
don't know necessarily whether it's a brain injury or they're just having a hard day or whatever the story is. I think the opportunity there to pause and take a breath and understand, okay, this person is struggling. How can I uh potentially just, while keeping myself safe depending on the situation,
of course, of course.
turn up our empathy, turn up our problem solving, our frontal cortex, our ability to manage our own emotions
Mhm.
so that we can regulate, hopefully as best as we can. And in that self-regulation here, that is hopefully also giving that person the signal that they can also be here and self-regulate. So
Mm.
part of um, part of the trick is also to be able to bring awareness to the situation and take that pause when we see someone struggling and to perhaps acknowledge that we don't know what's going on. We
And
might jump to
sometimes
all sorts of ideas and conclusions
exactly.
and blah blah blah, but
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
we don't know
No.
until we take a moment to kind of be with what is, and can we do that?
There's something special about holding space for a person who is experiencing something that we don't understand and just asking them what you might need in the moment. And if it's, I mean, certainly there are things that are not within an individual's power to do. And as you said, safety is always an issue. And letting the other person have the opportunity to do for themselves as well. But it's nice to be able to support someone. And so, in some ways, when I think about supporting people, I think about what we're doing behind the scenes to create awareness or to create an open opportunity for people to have questions or talk about it. And one way to do that is when you're wearing a bee outfit or a sweet unicorn or a, whatever dragon that you are. Let's talk a little bit about why you have historically jumped off a bungee cord in a onesie just to bring awareness to the cause.
Yeah, thank you. So Toss the Boss is the event, and this was the brainchild of Tom Benson, who is the founder of Wild Play, one of the owners of Wild Play. And Toss the Boss really, started as a phenomenal idea where teams nominate their boss to bungee jump off of Wild Play's beautiful purpose-built bungee bridge, 150 feet over the Nanaimo River, as a way of raising money to support brain injury services and programs on the island. And what it has really transformed into, at least for me, is a very powerful symbol of the power of courage and community. Um, because we recognize that living with the effects of a brain injury, both for the individual and the family, can involve a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And it takes incredible courage to be able to face those challenges and put one step in front of the other, especially when there is so much uncertainty and when it's very, very difficult to access services and the supports, and even to know what kind of services and supports you need or what is out there. It's a very piecemeal system, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So Toss the Boss requires courage. It requires the person who's nominated, the jumper, to stand out on that ledge 150 feet over the Nanaimo River and take a flying leap into into that free fall. And it takes courage for people to donate as well, to invest in that team. And it's all done in community. We're not doing this by themselves. They're coming out. We all show up on the day to encourage and support and witness that courage. And I've been saying lately that courage is contagious.
It is.
So when
Yes.
I see the incredible courage of folks to get up and face the challenges that they experience with brain injury, and the incredible creativity and the incredible good humor and uh, and strength that people exhibit in the face of those challenges. And Toss the Boss really is symbolic to me of putting my trust in the team, putting my trust in my
Mm.
community, and saying, yep,
Yes.
we can do hard things together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where it's landed for me, that this isn't a fundraiser where you're just gonna write a check and show up and have a glass of wine and call it good. No, you've got to have skin in the game. And
When I think about the skin
yeah,
you've had in the game, yes, courage is contagious. I don't have the courage to jump off that bungee. I just don't know how you do it. Talk about your for the very first time, and
yeah.
now that you've done it a few times, does it get any easier?
So the first time I didn't know what I was up for. Like I am not the person who chases adrenaline. Not at all. I'm not jumping off the rocks, at the Nanaimo River. I just kind of slide in. Like,
You and me
I'm
both.
not that person.
Live slow. Yeah, you bet.
Yes. So the first time I really didn't know what I was up for, but I really believed in the cause. I believed in the team. I believe in the community. So I knew that, people are out there bungee jumping out of wildlife all the time. People are doing this all the time.
It's got
So
to be
it's
kind of safe, right? If people do it all the
gotta be
time.
safe.
Yeah.
So I just trusted that I was gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And I got out there. I was like, wow, piece of cake. I'm dressed in a unicorn onesie because um this is not the naked jump bungee. This is a
Thankfully. Yeah,
different event. I
sure.
did not want anybody seeing anything. Like, nope, we do not want any kind of
No
fashion
extra publicity
faux pas.
required.
So I was one piece and a hood, like
You
fully
bet.
covered. Um, but getting out onto that platform, uh, the bridge crew are so supportive. The Wild Play staff and team up on the bridge, so supportive, so
Yeah.
like gentle and reassuring. And I remember the Steve, he was the jump master. He's like, you're just gonna look out at that tree over there, and you're just gonna follow that tree all the way down. You're just gonna look out, and you're just gonna just let yourself just go down. I was like, okay, okay, I got this. And nothing about my person would let me fall off a bridge. Like every biological survival instinct was like, nope.
Nope, holding on tight.
We
Heal.
practice not falling off things.
Yeah.
So from then on, I just get pushed. I just get a gentle, so that the bridge crew, I'm just very clear. I said, I've done this. I can't, on my own volition, just jump. So they just give me a little gentle nudge,
Toss. Just a
and
little.
then they let go, and gravity takes over, and then you're just falling. And there's nothing you can do.
So did you see the first time, did you see your life kind of pass before your eyes in the process? Or did you actually just focus on that tree?
I did see the tree,
Yeah.
and it lasts an incredibly long time.
Really? Because
It's
it looks
like
like seconds.
it is seconds. It
Yeah.
is literally seconds, but it's long enough to think I'm still falling.
Am I gonna die?
I'm still falling. When is this gonna end?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, the thrill of having that experience, and I really, you know, it is quite thrilling to feel that release and to just to be screaming at the top of my lungs. Like, not very many opportunities do you have to like to just let it all go
Well, I
and
think
in community and be witness and have people cheering as you are screaming at the top of your lungs.
well, there's something to be said about the primal scream as it being
Yeah.
such true cleansing. And you're right to be supported by the community as you, but could you hear the community or could you just, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
okay,
No, you like you hear people
even as you're falling,
clapping. At least I do. Anyways, I didn't, you know, I didn't black out. Like,
I think I would have,
I'm
I
very
think I
aware
would have
of
left with
everything
a
that's
brain
happening.
injury.
Very aware.
Yeah.
Uh, so everybody's cheering and clapping, and then you know, you kind of you jump and you swing down and then you bounce back up. So you get another little free fall. That's like, yeah, that's again an opportunity
Is it
to
anything like the roller
scream.
coaster and that bounce? Is it anything like that deep dive and then up?
Yeah, yeah, you know, when you like have your
Yeah.
stomach kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the like you're just gently lowered down to a little raft. They come out and get you and you're lowered down onto this raft. So you're laying, you know, on this raft on the Nanaimo River looking back up at the bridge. And that is the most wonderful feeling ever. It's just like you know, you survived, you got the adrenaline, you know, you have everybody cheering, and it's a really lovely community experience. And really one of the hardest things to do is to climb back up the stairs from the river.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you get back up? Do they,
You
is
have to like
there,
you climb up these stairs and
oh
you're just
my
like, oh my God,
goodness,
these
after
stairs are
you've
like
already
kind of,
done all of that falling and screaming, how much energy do you have
yeah.
left to crawl back up those stairs?
Yeah, it seems like, you know, those stairs are part of kind of hard, the hardest part, but
I bet. I bet.
yeah, it really it's a wonderful event, and we hear that it's people's personal connection. You know, they have a team member, an employee, a family member that they see have experienced the brain injury and have gone through the challenges and the successes in their recovery process, and they want to, you know, the employer or the family member wants to give back.
Yeah.
We hear that again and again, that it's very meaningful
Yeah.
for folks to be able to do this.
Well, it sounds like such a unique way to do fundraising as well. You know, the philanthropy world is a much different place than it was before. It's harder to get those dollars. Many people are fighting over grants or trying to get find funding to keep the programs going. And especially if you're offering free programming to community, the relevance of getting people together to raise this money for such an important cause
Mhm.
becomes even more clear.
Yeah.
What did you learn from your first experience, and what made you do it the second time and then the third time?
Yeah. So I learned that I survived,
Yes.
and I was so inspired by these people who would like swan dive off of
Oh,
that platform.
wow. Like
I
they
because
do look beautiful in pictures, don't they?
yes, they're
Yeah.
just incredible. And we had people like dressing up, and you know, like people who've done multiple bungee jumps, so they're going up backwards. And so I thought for my second year, you know what? I can do that. I too am going to be the person who just takes a swan dive off of that bridge. And so the second year I was like, okay, that's the plan, right? That's the plan.
That's the
And
plan.
So second year I was a dragon. So I kind of insist that the
Mm.
onesies have wings because if you're
Hmm.
gonna go you fly, you might as well have wings.
You need one. Nothing
Um,
can happen when you're wearing a unicorn onesie or a dragon onesie with wings.
right?
Nothing can
So
happen.
nothing bad can happen. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And I stood out there and the strange thing, like I started like my hands started doing like weird like things. Like my husband was just like, what is happening to your hands? Like they're just like I'm standing out there going, oh no, like they're grasping. And so finally I was like, no, this is taking too long. So I just put my hands above my head and they gave me the little push.
Yeah.
So
You
um
mentioned your husband a moment ago. Has he
yeah,
done the jump?
no,
Oh,
no. He's very supportive. He runs the barbecue. So
perfect.
he's so
He has a job.
he's feeding the people. Yeah, at the event. Yeah, he's one of the volunteers. Uh
What
so
did
yeah,
he
so the
think the
second
first time
time,
you did it? What did he think when the first, like, was he like, oh, she's alive, right? And, whoosh, this is over now? Or because I would imagine after you come back up, your adrenaline must have just been going.
yeah. Yeah, he kind of misses it. You know, he's just like, did it happen? Because it happened so quickly.
Yes, yeah.
He's like, oh, did you jump? And I'm like, yeah, I jumped. He's like, okay, great, good job. So
Get that
yeah,
hamburger off we go.
yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
eat until afterwards. Like,
No, no,
no, that's
of
not.
course. How many jumpers were the first time? And as the time has gone by, because I know that with there's the next one, there's a few different changes that we've spoken about already on the
Mhm.
television version of Act Three. But tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about how those numbers have shifted.
Yeah, it's progressed. We've just gotten more and more people interested.
Yeah, yeah.
Every year and this year we still have teams signing up, so now it's a race to whoever gets that minimum first. So
Mm,
the first 40 jumpers who raise the minimum $1,000, that secures their jump time. But we have teams who are vying for the prize. The prize for the top fundraising team is a team building adventure experience donated by Wild Play.
nice.
Oh yeah, so the top fundraising team gets to take their team out there to have a wonderful team building experience with their adventure courses and all the incredible elements out at Wild Play. If you've never been out to Wild Play, it is beautiful. It's along the Nanaimo River. They have zip lines and adventure courses and axe throwing and just
Mm,
a wonderful experience of being outdoors. Things for everyone, everything from kids to adults. And they do an amazing job of really making everyone feel welcomed and have a great time.
hmm.
So yeah, we have more teams. We have return teams this year, people who were with us last year and are coming back and are fundraising to have even more jumpers. So some teams are putting in 2 or 3 people. So they're raising
Wow.
that $1,000 minimum for each of their jumpers to secure that jump time. We have lots of teams from Island Health
Nice.
coming out to support, which is fantastic. We love to see that support from the health authority staff. We have a lot of trades companies, contractors, electricians. We have just an incredible show from the trades. Um, we have hospitality. We have other community organizations, nonprofit organizations that are supporting our organization as well, because they work with brain injury survivors and have seen the support that we offer their clients. So yeah, it's incredible. It's growing every year. And I was just looking at how much money has been raised for brain injury programs since 2021 was the first year that we did it. And we are over $180,000 for brain
Wow,
injury programs and services on the island. So
that's
this is
incredible.
really about island organizations and businesses that have their offices here on the island, or their employees here on the island supporting the community on the island. So we're really, really so grateful to see that kind of support.
So this is a really good time for people to go grab a piece of paper and a pen, because I know if we give out the information on how they can do it, they won't have their pen. And so, so go get your paper and pen, folks, and then come on back. If you have just tuned in, you're listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. And if you've missed the program today, or you're just tuning in kind of halfway through, you can check us out on our YouTube station at Act 3 Media Productions on YouTube, or our Facebook page, or all that other great stuff. So you could find us, because you're going to want to get involved with Kicks and do the jump. Now, I can guarantee you I will not be doing the jump, but I sure want everyone to support the jump, even if they're not physically going to go overboard. So, and I will support the same, because it's important. I think we need to come together as a community. And I am a real chicken, so it won't be me knocking myself over the edge. And which brings me to an idea for future ones is, like, I would totally do, the one that goes across the one you jump off, but you're holding on to what is that thing called? That it goes from
There's a number of there's the zip lines.
zip line is what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
so there's zip lining, which is great.
Ah,
Wild Play also has what they call the primal swing. So
oh,
it is a swing off of the bridge. You're with another person.
another
Two
person.
of you swing off the bridge. So who knows? We might add some more elements as this continues to grow. We love our partnership with the Wild Play. We think it's a real gem here in Nanaimo. It's an incredible place to bring families and friends and people who are visiting here on the island. So who knows? Yeah, we
Everyone.
might just keep adding.
I think you need to keep adding, because I think that opens it up for us very, very frightened people. And I think that I don't like falling, because I don't like landing. It hurts.
See, and this is the thing, like
That's why I hold you up.
you're not landing anywhere.
Just fall and bounce.
You
Yeah.
fall and bounce, and it comes
But
back.
I'm so glad that you have the courage to do this, and the sponsoring of you is a marvelous thing. So how do people, now that hopefully they've grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, how do
Yes.
people find you, Kicks?
Yeah. So the website is very simple. It's tosstheboss.ca.
Toss
Toss
the
the
boss, don't
boss,
say.
all one word, .ca. And people can donate to the campaign in general, or they can go on and pick donate to a team and see who the teams are. And your local grocery store might be up there, your local
Ah,
pub might be up there, your contractor might be up there, your pharmacy might be up there. So
yeah,
you can donate directly to the team to support their jump, or you can donate to the campaign, and any donation over $20 gets an automatic tax receipt.
always good.
So tosstheboss.ca. And to
Wonderful.
learn about the impact of your donation, please go to the Nanaimo Brain Injury Society website. It's NBIS.ca. So just
Nice and
NBIS
easy.
as in Nanaimo Brain Injury Society.ca.
And of course, if people are catching this on the YouTube channel, I will make sure that it's below in the chat box so people can link on it directly, nice and simple.
Thank
So,
you.
oh, always my pleasure. when we talked about the courage, right? It takes a lot of courage for people to walk the walk with a brain injury and so many other things that we go through. But it also allows us to learn something about ourselves and our community as we walk through this time. I know that Wild Play has been just such an incredible ally for people in supporting this cause, and I know others as well. Um, why, like on our last time we were together, on the Act Three version of on Rogers, we spoke about this year being a little bit of a twist for you because you have done it for a few years. You thought you might want to pass the baton. Why not share what that looks like?
Yeah, so this year, as we were discussing our Toss the Boss fundraiser and getting excited about it, um, I put it out to the staff and I said, does anybody want to jump for NBIS? Because we also put in a staff member
Of
and we
course.
raise money as well for the organization as staff members and employees and family members. So we are also contributing to the event. So this year, our community and wellness coordinator, Ryan Watson, said, yeah, I'll do it. So we ceremoniously passed the onesie to Ryan, and I thought I was off the hook, literally. I was like, perfect. I'm just gonna
Yay!
sit around with my burger and my,
To
my
watch.
drink, my pop, and I'm gonna be good. And that week I was practicing with my dragon boat team. I paddle for the Nanaimo paddling center, and I was in the front of the boat and our coach is at the very front, and we are out practice and we're just at a pause and she looks down at me. She's incredible, Holly Wiley, and she said, Kix, when is Toss the Boss? And I said, October 4th. And she announces to the team, she said, hey, everybody, we're going to raise money for the Nanaimo Brain Injury Society, and we're going to toss Kix off the bridge. So
So,
it was,
so much for you getting off the hook.
yeah, and amazingly, my team members and the Nanaimo Paddling Center was one of the first teams to make that minimum $1,000 to secure that spot on the bridge.
Nice.
So I'm going to be wearing my team jersey. I'm going to be sporting the colors as I take a flying leap off the bridge.
Oh, so listen, are you going to, because we talked about wings being essential on everything you do, are you going to sew some wings on the back of your
On my
paddle
jersey.
jacket or on your jersey or
Yeah, well, like the theme being courage, courage is contagious. That's really taking that to heart, and to be a dragon, to be a dragon boat paddler, that courage is right here, and I know the team is behind me. So that's all I need is to have my team behind me to be able
nice.
to take that jump.
So you have graduated from, this first, second, third year. Now in year four,
Yes.
you're ready to move forward with the team behind you. How many teams
Yeah.
have registered so far?
I believe we don't have 40 yet. We just have a few more spots. And we
Okay.
have teams, we have another team signed up today. So they're getting filled up. We're just over a week away.
Yeah.
And I just checked, sorry, I'm just looking at the website right now, and we're almost halfway to our fundraising goal,
Oh,
which
that's
is
fantastic.
incredible. And one thing I wanted to circle back to, Kathy, is, when you talked about raising money, and there's incredible community organizations that are fundraising out there for the amazing work that they are doing, and all these nonprofit organizations in our community that really provide so much support and vital services that really make our community better places for all. Worthy causes. I really encourage people to give where their heart is, wherever that is, whatever cause or community that you feel drawn to. Please support the community organizations. And when I look at the donations on our Toss the Boss website, these aren't big donations. These are $25, $20. These are people who are, just giving what they can.
Yeah.
And collectively, again, we are almost halfway to our $50,000 goal. And I know that, collectively, we're going to get there because people
Going.
are coming together, because that's the power of community.
So people can actually just donate to your website as well. They can go to whether it's at Toss the Boss. Is there a button for donation directly through Nanaimo Brain Injury Society at NBIS.ca as well as Toss the Boss? Or would you prefer, does it matter how people get the funds to you?
Yeah, well, our fundraising event page is Toss the Boss. So of
Yeah.
course, we'd love people to go to tosstheboss.ca and see the incredible. We have photos up there, we have stories, and to see all the teams and see how they can support those teams.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then of course, they can donate directly to the Nanaimo Brain Injury Society on our website. There's a donate button there too. Uh,
Wonderful.
the campaign page is Toss the Boss. So that's where we're focusing right now, but
Of
certainly they can
course.
donate at any time to support programs and services for
Yeah.
brain injury survivors and families on our website.
Yeah, really, really important stuff. One more question. When we talked a little bit earlier, we talked about Vancouver Island, right, along the island. Are all of the fundings going to the Nanaimo Brain Injury, or are some of the funds going to other brain injury societies on Vancouver Island? Or are they doing their own version of this? Or what does that look like for our listeners who might live on the Sunshine Coast or might live in Courtney or Comox that, or in Duncan?
Yeah.
And yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so this is a local grassroots organization and a local grassroots fundraiser. So,
Perfect.
Nanaimo Brain Injury Society, as I said, was started by local families to support brain injury survivors here in our area. Now, that being said, so the funds do support our community organization. We did start off as in partnership with this event with Victoria Brain Injury Society, and that was a fantastic experience. They stepped back because they do have other big fundraisers
Mm-hmm.
that they focus their energy on, and at the time and still, this is our NBIS really embraced Toss the Boss and embraced our partnership with Wild Play here in Nanaimo as our signature fundraiser. So the funds raised do stay in this community to support folks here on the island. Now, that being said, we do support folks in Port Alberni, in places where there isn't a brain injury organization, the West Coast, Tofino, Ucluelet. We do support other service providers who are working with folks in other communities that don't have a local brain injury organization. And we work with those survivors and those families to make sure that, we can provide as much support as possible. There are other grassroots brain injury organizations on the island, but some communities, Oceanside, Parksville, Port Alberni, Tofino, Ucluelet, Ladysmith, just north of Duncan, there is a brain injury organization in Cowichan, there is a brain injury organization in Comox, but between those two areas, that's kind of where Nanaimo Brain Injury Society offers our support.
That's
Uh,
great.
yeah.
So tell me, or tell our listeners, if you don't mind, we're coming, we're not at the end of the program yet, but we're certainly coming close to it. And so there's a couple of things that I'm curious. I know that the funds are used locally, and you talked a little bit about some of the workshops. Can you share with our community what some of the programs are that you offer through NBIS?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one program that we're really excited that we're finally able to offer is counseling. So
Mm,
we do have a counselor who's on contract who runs out of our offices so that someone who wishes to get that kind of support becomes a client,
hmm.
and then is referred into the counseling program, which is fantastic. So that's a newer program that we were able
Mm,
to
great
support and
program.
fund through grants and donations. We also expanded our social programming. So after COVID, we really heard from our clients and families that they were looking to reconnect, that the experience of isolation, of loneliness, of not having anywhere to go was really impacting people's health.
Yeah.
So we started developing a social program where there are different workshops, education workshops, or just being able to come and hang out. So on Mondays, we just have a coffee drop-in where people can come and have a coffee and have a snack and just chat, just be in the space and have some conversation. We also have a virtual peer support program. So our trained peer support volunteers, which are absolutely amazing, they run an online peer support program that people can attend from their home. So that's available to our clients as well. We have peer support programs that go into the hospital.
Mm,
We're the only peer support like hospital peer support program for brain injury survivors in the province.
wow.
So that's in partnership with Nanaimo Regional General Hospital. With the rehab units, mostly is where we work. So we go in, our incredible peer support volunteers who are people with lived experience, who are in a place where they received training and they are able to go into the hospital, meet with people, and just provide those messages of hope that there
Yeah.
is life after brain injury, and they do an amazing job. So we have our hospital peer support program for brain injury survivors, and often we're talking to the family members at that time as well, because
Yes.
this is a life-changing event. No one plans on having a brain injury. So having someone who has that lived experience be able to listen and share really has such incredible impact. Um, and then we have other programs like we have our Wellness Wednesday where we have yoga or Tai Chi. We have
Mm,
crafting, collaging. We will go out, groups will go out to the art gallery or to the community gardens and basically just kind of start to create and build those bridges in our community. Community
mm,
connections are so important. Uh,
absolutely.
and sometimes it can be difficult to do on your own. So being able to be a part of the Brain Injury Society, be a part of the community, and then go out and have that experience as a group, then helps to build some of those bridges. And then we've had folks who then become volunteers with the community gardens because they had that experience going as part of the Brain Injury Society. So those are some of the programs we offer. Our education sessions as well for family. We have a caregiver support group that is really impactful as well because again, we know that the family, the friends, the people who are there walking alongside of the brain injury survivor also need that support, that information, that ability to kind of be able to keep their feet on the ground with all the changes that happen. So we're here to support the family and the caregivers as well.
There's something quite wonderful about seeing, I know that our listeners are hearing, and I'm sure that they can hear it in your voice, the tremendous passion that you have for this work. Um, I think that we are very, very fortunate to see the Nanaimo Brain Injury Society grow and expand the way it has. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's important for people to get that support. So let's give out that information one more time. How do people find you and how do they find Toss the Boss?
Yeah, so they can go to tosstheboss.ca and go onto the website and donate to one of their favorite teams. See who's showing up, see who is pitching their manager or their CEO or one of their staff members off a bridge, because these are local organizations or businesses with local offices that are stepping up to support the brain injury organization. So we want to show our support for them at tosstheboss.ca. And then, of course, going to our website, which is NBIS.ca, is the place to find all the information that about our programs and services.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Kix, for being on the program today. My favorite
Mhm.
part is now, and it's that sort of that piece of that little bit of wisdom that we love to imbibe on the community after at the end of our program. And so if you could, Kix, you've shared so much with us. Thank you for that. One last one though. If you were to, share a piece of wisdom, what do you think that might look like as it relates to your experiences with brain injury and NBIS and tossing the boss?
Yeah, I love that question, Kathy. I think it's just such a generous question that you offer. Um, and um, and maybe that's what I'll end on is that generosity of spirit, is that there's many ways to be generous by showing empathy, uh, by giving our attention. You
Mm,
know, to be present is such an act of generosity, an act
yes.
of giving. And so that's what's been on my mind, especially with Toss the Boss, and really just so blown away by the support of the community and of course our incredible event sponsors. I didn't even mention them, but our media sponsors. We have Check, we have the Wave, Check TV, and we have KJ Controls and Mazzy Electric and Lifetime Benefits. They're just incredible sponsors. So that kind of generosity that I see in
Mm,
our community, not only for the Brain Injury Society, but for our other community
absolutely.
events. I see that in the interactions between people, and I think more than ever, um, we need that generosity of spirit as well, to be with each other and to to be present in not knowing.
Mm,
We
how
don't we
true
don't
is that?
know, you
We
know?
don't.
And if we can just stay in that space for a little bit and see what arises from a space of generosity.
Well, thank you so much for your generosity, for bringing this great, great event to our community over the last few years, and to Wild Play, who have supported it, and to all of the sponsors and everyone who's given their generous time and effort and dollars to make this all come together. Kix Chiton, it's been a pleasure to have you on Act 3. For those of you who have just tuned in, I'm sorry to tell you this, you just missed us. So you better go and catch us on one of our other platforms. Do make sure that if you are wanting to toss your boss, you make sure that you go to the website right away and book your spot. There's only a few places left. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time on Act 3.